All right, Jolie, welcome to the Feminine Frequency podcast. It is such an honor to have you here today.
Yes, thanks for having me, Amy.
Yeah, I brought you on to this show because I'm looking forward to you sharing your unique codes that you have learned in this lifetime and past lifetimes about prosperity and really a lot of the healing that you've done. So I'm super happy to share your wisdom with my guests.
It's wonderful to be here. I admire you so much for leading this conversation. I feel like as women, we're so hungry for the codes of knowledge that this is. And so I'm so happy to be here and contribute however I can.
Amazing. Before we dive in, I want to start by asking you a fun question to start us off. So I'd love to know, how do you play?
Mm. Well, recently, the last 6 months, I moved back to the beach, and play to me looks like getting on my scooter. I have a Vespa, going down to the water and just being in the frequency. I live in Santa Monica, and so it's always a party because so many people are on vacation here. So love going to the beach. There's this restaurant where you can put your feet in the sand, and there's a bunch of different tables, and they have coconuts and they have mango smoothies and like so many delicious things. And I love watching the sunset and having my feet in the sand and just like feeling like I'm on vacation every time I go there.
That sounds
Oh,
so
it's
epic.
amazing. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I love is that you haven't lost your sense of play. Like no matter how big your business has gotten, no matter, what you're doing in the world, no matter how big you're showing up, like you just have this sense of play that you've carried with you, and
Mhm.
it's really inspiring.
Thanks so much. I love to celebrate. I love it. And, after a hard week of working, there's nothing I love more. The beach is awesome. Nothing I love more than having friends over and getting dressed up and going out and dancing. It's just so fun. And there's so many good places in LA to do it. So I love playing. I need it. I need it. And I'm grateful that I've been somebody in entrepreneurship that naturally prioritizes that. Um, the first thing to go might be my meditation practice or my self-care, but I will not give up having fun. I will not. I'm very committed to fun.
Well, we have something to learn from each other then. My meditation practice is a non-negotiable, but I would love to dive in and introduce your story and have you share a little
Mhm.
bit about your journey to teaching prosperity, to teaching abundance, to growing this empire, this business that you are sharing your gifts with the world. So, where do you want to start with money, with
Mhm.
burnout? What's your preference?
I think I'll start with cueing in with our listeners here that what bred me in entrepreneurship and how did I get to where I am running a multiple six-figure business with a life that I truly love and a team that would do anything to support the vision and working about 25 hours a week. And I love what I've created. I just did my 2019 numbers and I'm like, holy shit, woman, the year that my mom died, the year that so much was going on in my personal life, I still crushed it in business in so many ways, in my impact, in my revenue. And I just want to share a little bit about my story because I think it'll help people relate to their own story and relate to this conversation that we're having. Um, Starting out in my early 20s, I came into womanhood in just a severe amount of pain, which led me to my spiritual path. And you've heard the story from me before, Amy, but I just had a really hard transition into my college years. I had been like this really critical piece in my family, holding my parents' marriage together by threads. And when the 2007, 2008 economic collapse was happening in America, my dad got really sick as his law firm took a hit, and I watched him just wither away and our family kind of go up into shambles for an entire year. And the whole saga ended with his suicide. And turning 21 that year, that I was trying to hold it down for my mom, who was just frozen in trauma, trying to be in college, getting my business degree at San Diego State. I was in so much emotional pain that nobody around me even had the slightest clue how to support, right? I'm living in a house of just like, we weren't in a sorority, but some sort of sorority like house at San Diego State. And, it's like, sorry, your dad died. I didn't know how to support myself. And what I learned was I took on the story that money is the enemy. And I had such a debilitating fear around money. Like if I run out of money, somebody is dying. And scarcity was this, and it wasn't just my dad's death, it was my parents' marriage, it was their gambling addiction, it was so many things that I'd learned about how traumatic money is. And as I was going into entrepreneurship in my early 20s and starting my business and starting my live summits and writing books, I realized I had to heal this relationship with money. And I realized I wasn't alone in how money is just this extremely high pressure, high anxiety, this paradigm that we all have to exist in this system. And so I've devoted my life to helping people attain a life of prosperity and set up monetization that works, because I know how much pain you can be in when money is the first thing you think about in the morning and the last thing you think about when you fall asleep, and it just breeds incredible anxiety. And we all hold shame around money. We all feel alone. We're harboring stories that nobody could possibly understand how this feels for me, or how much pressure I feel, or you don't know how much debt I have, or you don't know what it was like growing up in my family with this scarcity. So we all have a certain amount of shame with money, and a certain amount of embarrassment and secrets that we're hiding. And like, I hope nobody finds out that I'm actually not making this much. Or there's just so much that we do in the world of money. And I'm here to lighten up the conversation. Like, every single one of us is burdened by money. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. It doesn't matter if you have your 7-figure business or an 8-figure empire, you are burdened with money. And it's how we practice a continual relationship with money and building harmony and undoing all of the collective consciousness of fear. And so if you're listening to this right now, whatever you're up against with money, I want you to know you are not alone. Everybody feels the pressure with money. Doesn't matter if they've had 30 successful launches in a row. Doesn't matter what numbers they're putting on social media. Everyone feels an enormous pressure, an enormous anxiety, and to varying degrees. But there's this system that we all have to play in, that we have to learn to rise above and build a practice to not stress ourselves out, because we're operating in a level of nervous system overload and anxiety that really is not long-term healthy for our systems.
So powerful how you got to these codes with money, because I think a lot of people will look at, women who are successful, women who are quote unquote making it, and just be like, oh, they just get it. Like, they just know how to make money. Everything they touch turns to gold. And your story is such a great representation of how you learned about money through pain. You learned about money through having to heal that deep, deep wound. And it's allowed you to have these codes. And I really love that word codes. That's something that I learned from you, that each of us has unique codes from our own story, from our own past. And these are some of your codes. You have many codes, lots of witchy codes, which I love. And what I really wanted to highlight, what you shared, is that we each have this relationship with money. And I think outside of food, like food and money are two things that we need to survive. Like, you literally can't live without either of them, right? So being a former nutritionist and working in eating psychology and body image, like, there's so much shame around these topics, around food and body and money, and it's all things that most women struggle with. So what I love about your approach to prosperity and around money, and even that you call it prosperity, is that approach of making it light. And I'd love for you to share a little bit more about like the energy of money and how you've changed your relationship with money, what that looks like now. What is your relationship with money? What are some of the practices that you do with money?
Yeah, there's a lot, and it is a continual practice. Here's the thing: if we start believing the collective consciousness and we don't check ourselves with money, more than likely you're carrying more anxiety in your system that's healthy for you. And the more that you see where other people are at, like you were saying, like, oh, that person just gets it. And much like women in their bodies, as you know, you have extensive research and study with this, Amy. most every woman in her body would have something she would change about her body, something that is not up to her standards. And most every woman or person with their money would change something about their money. So we all are carrying the story to some degree of it's not enough. It's not enough. And when will it ever feel like it's enough? So it's really up to us to have a conscious awareness, an intentional practice of making whatever you have enough, or else it never ever will be. You'll be dying with a huge trust, feeling like you're not leaving enough to your heirs. And I think that's where we have to stop the insanity of the thinking, because fear is very convincing. Fear will tell you that rushing towards some finish line is more important than your presence. Fear will tell you that burning yourself out and working more than you want to be working is more important than your happiness and well-being. And so you have to have this conscious effort of saying, I claim myself to feel prosperous right now. Here is everything that I have. Here's what's working. And sure, I have goals for the future and I know where I'm going, and this is what I want to be creating. But we have to cultivate that feeling of enoughness, because we have been bred into a system that constantly wants us to believe that there's not enough from every single angle. We are in the collective consciousness of fear of money and scarcity. The powers that be want us in the feeling of not enough. So keep striving, keep hustling, keep pushing, especially of those us in America and in the West. We have to be able to sit back and look at our life and have a practice of saying, I am where I'm meant to be right now. And if that's having a ton of student debt, if that's having credit card debt, if that's owing people things, if it's not making as much money in my business or in my career as I want to be making, I am where I'm supposed to be right now. So prosperity consciousness is a consciousness that we practice, because very rarely does that come naturally to somebody. Not like you wake up bubbling over like, I'm so prosperous. It's something that you cultivate. You wake up bubbling over with prosperity because you've done your ritual the night before and you spent a week in gratitude and you were taking care of yourself and you were watching your money and you were planning your money. Because I think the thing, Amy, that breeds the most anxiety that my clients come to me just like in so much of a panic about is avoidance. And when it's so overwhelming, you don't want to look at your bills and you don't really know what your numbers are for the year, and the bookkeeping's all a mess, and it's like the pressure is surmounting. And so our defense mechanism is to not look at it all. And then the not looking actually exacerbates the problem enormously. So you have to be somebody in your life that says, I will stop the insanity of the suffering of scarcity. I will claim myself to be somebody who has enough in this moment right now. And I practice daily the feeling of enoughness. And enoughness everywhere, enoughness in my relationships. I'm enough as a mom. I'm enough as a partner and a spouse. I'm enough with my food and my body. Money is just such a big one, and something I'm so passionate about, because I've seen the suffering. I've seen how it like ripped apart my family. I see how much stress and anxiety people live in and how they take that to their grave. I watched my mom suspended in trauma for 10 years until she passed away this year. And in entrepreneurship, I was like, I need to make as much money as I possibly can, because my mom's end of life is going to be very expensive. And I want to have more than enough money to be able to handle whatever that burden is going to be. And so this year, it's been very recent for me to be able to sit back and be like, what am I running so fast towards? And especially those of us that are teaching and leading and are the role models or something, especially those of us like me that are teaching prosperity consciousness, I have to be so careful in the way that I don't create a story that I already know. I have to check myself all the time with money. Like, wow, I'm in a lot of scarcity right now, and this is the impact of that. And if I'm running the story that scarcity means somebody is dying, I'm going to be really uptight about any sort of scarcity conversation around me, or if I feel scarcity in my business. So my invitation to everybody that's listening is, you get to be the conscious creator of your relationship with your money. And anything that is in your world right now, chances are you're up against something with money, feeling not enough, whatever that looks like for you. That you take the pledge to look at your money, to be with your money, to count your money, to get realistic about your money, to see what you owe, to put that spreadsheet of debt together, to check your credit score, to look at your bank account balances and restore integrity with your money and stop the insanity of avoidance, because that's what's breeding most of the anxiety that you're feeling with money.
Oh, so much goodness. Yeah, the avoidance factor. When I was working as a client of yours, I remember you sharing a question that I think one of your coaches asked you, that if,
Mm-hmm.
if money was your lover, would money sleep with you? And if
Mm-hmm.
avoidance is how most people are operating, or scarcity or fear, it's not a very attractive energy to be in relationship with, right? If you were just to
Yeah.
ignore or not look at. So I love the encouragement to really do the practical piece as well, of checking your money, looking at your money from a more objective place, to reduce some of that scarcity and fear, and be able
Mm-hmm.
to actually come from an empowered place to make new decisions. I also really loved, you talked about being in like the prosperity consciousness of consciously choosing an abundant mindset, consciously choosing being grateful for money, because the default, as you mentioned, is scarcity. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
hundreds of years around scarcity around money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And even my clients that grew up in wealthy families, the incessant fear of scarcity, it can even be, it's even greater than people that were scraping by sometimes. And so the default, you said it perfectly, the default that is programmed deep within our psyche, in our ancestral lineage, is scarcity and not enoughness. And our ancestors had good right for that. There were times where there wasn't enough food, where we were in the Great Depression, where you did have to save everything, where there legitimately wasn't enough. And so it's up to you to create what story you're going to tell from this moment forward, and create that conscious practice with money. Because when you cultivate that inner light of prosperity, you give so many other people permission around you. And I know what it's like to feel so alone in feeling powerless with money. I know what it's like to open up your bank statements or your credit card bill and just be like triggered and hijacked from the center of your being, and get a tax bill that you're like, what the fuck? I had the IRS hacked into one of my bank statements and took out multiple thousands of dollars for a mistake and error on their part when I moved to Austin. So these things are going to come up. You're going to have these little annoying, we're all in the same system. We're all in the same money system. You will have some random tickets, some random fines. You will be hijacked. It's, what is this practice that you choose now? I invite all of you to go into this year and the coming years to dedicate yourself to a practice of claiming that you'll stop the insanity, that you will be somebody that is powerful enough to rewire your own psyche, to be somebody that cultivates daily prosperity, because it matters. It matters that we have people. I'm going to go into my spiel now about the light workers, but we need people on the planet that are cultivating light, that are interested in doing good for the planet, to have the resources. And I see so many amazing healers that get so stopped in fear because they're like, oh, should I charge what I'm worth? And money feels so hard. And I am such an advocate for the healers and the light workers to own their shit with money, because we need you so bad. Humans, to be a human alive on the planet right now means you're susceptible to a level of internal pain that's, it's, it can be so horrifying. The depression, the anxiety, the mental instability. People need the leaders right now. We are all wondering what the hell is going on in this human experience. We all feel so isolated and alone to some degree. And we need people like you to get straight with your money, to be able to support your lifestyle, doing your damn thing, healing, leading, inspiring, because there's big systems that have a ton of power and a ton of money behind them that will only be taken down with the same power given to light. And so it matters that you get straight with your money, that you get in integrity with your money, that you love your money, that you cultivate a practice of prosperity and harmony, because you are needed on the planet right now to be a lighthouse for other people.
So true. Yeah. And there's a huge wave right now of the awakening of consciousness, and so many people ready to be healed and wanting to be healed. And in order for healers to be able to show up in the way that they want and need to, you need to be able to survive and pay your bills and not be in scarcity all the time, so that you can do the massive healing that you're here to do. So I love that message to light workers, and I think just women in general, bringing the empowerment back to taking your power back from money is essential at this time. Yeah. So what are some of your practices, any rituals, daily rituals that you love that feel really good for you around money?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll give a couple on the energetic, spiritual, and some quick tactical ones. So the practice of prosperity is an internal feeling of enoughness. So how do you cultivate that? This is something that you bring into your silent practice, your meditation practice. This is something that you journal to yourself. And so one practice that you can take from this is journaling to like a letter to your money. So if you could talk to your money and you were restoring this relationship, how would you apologize? Like, I'm so sorry for being so out of integrity. I'm so sorry that there's 3 bills and collections that I'm so embarrassed to even look at, even though I could handle them today if I wanted to. I am so sorry that I have blamed you for all of this fear and this stress in my life. So talk to your money, invite your money. Money is an imaginary construct that we created in the minds of humans. It's not actually real. It doesn't exist like 3D in this reality. We created what a $100 bill is because we assigned value to it. And you get to work with the field by developing this relationship as a function of your word and say so in your imagination, the same way we created the damn thing. So you get to talk to your money. You get to have a conversation. You get to clean it up with money. I remember healing my money. I did a letter to money for every single day for a year in my journal. I have journals full of letters to money because I cared so much about being a high earner in this reality, and it paid off. And I broke through a lot of things, owning my worth, believing in what I did, being a lighthouse of inspiration for other women to make money around me, other people to make money around me. So letters to money. And then I always recommend being around your money. And so oftentimes I'll take different checks. I had a book publishing deal that I got, for multiple 4-figure contract from, and I ended up cashing that check and having the money around me. So I'm a huge proponent of having money in your wallet. I have at least $300 in my wallet at all times. And then I have money stashed around the house. Like if you open up my kitchen junk drawer, which is kind of like my purse contents that I swap out, you will see like stacks of ones. You will see 5s. In my car, you'll see money. If you open up my makeup drawer, there's like 20s in there. I just kind of have money, the energy of money around me. There's a $100 bill on my altar right now. I love having it around in this house because you can feel it. I'm like, you can open drawers and find money all over my house. So the other invitation is to have money around you and do rituals with money. When I cashed the check for my book publishing deal, I just laid all of these hundreds all over me. And Pia, my fiance, played. I've never said that publicly before. I don't even know.
Announcement.
Announcement. My partner, Pia, she just played the crystal sound bowl, and then we like had sex all over this money. And it was just like so amazing, so juicy, and so wonderful to just like really receive the money and really be in pleasure with the money. So those are 2 kind of like emotional, spiritual strategies. And then one quick tactical one is you've got to be clear about the way that money is coming in. You can't plug the hole of your debt, what you owe other people, and getting in integrity with your budget and all the money going out until you get in integrity with the money coming in. And so a really grounded strategic plan for the way that money is coming in. And if you're in a job right now, that's having some really clear conversations with the management, the people around you for what you want to be making, and having those conversations. And if you're an entrepreneur, this is what I love helping women do in my course, is getting really clear about the current paradigm that you're living in and what you believe your value to be, and taking a really hard look at your current monetization and looking at where can you provide more value and step more into a high earner, building out your programs, building out your launches, and thinking bigger than you're currently thinking, because that is how you grow. That's how you step into a more expanded business owner and healer, a coach, a guide, is looking at where can I expand myself to serve more, to be paid at the level that I want to be paid. So that's why a lot of my work is focused around launches and marketing and monetization plans and helping people set up their programs and launch them, because I just love that how a woman's life can change when she sees the needle move on her income. I just love it. I love it so much. So write your letters to money, have money around you, worship your money, have sex with your money. I've had clients send me pictures of like money and vibrators, and go there. Go to the places where you just think that, whoa, I would never do that because money is dirty, or money is the root of all evil, or money is greed. Whatever the programming has been, could you let yourself be in full pleasure with money? And then get yourself a business coach. Get yourself someone that can actually help you expand in your monetization and think bigger. It's extremely challenging to do on your own. I've seen some people do it, but for the most part, all of my friends that have stepped into their multiple 6 and 7-figure businesses had mentors and coaches helping them, pushing them, guide them. I had mentors helping me for sure. So take it seriously, get the mentorship that you need, learn from people who have done it, and start taking yourself seriously as a business owner, that you're worth it.
I love the not the contradiction, but the two sides of really shifting from scarcity into pleasure around money. Like those are two completely different energies, and it can be really uncomfortable to start of really experiencing pleasure and enjoying money, right? So I love that contrast of incorporating and really bringing more pleasure into the practice with money, and really powerful. And one of the terms that I learned from you, and I actually feel like I've learned to embody this from you, is this term creatrix. And growing up, I just never really thought it was creative, because I really thought creativity as a musician or someone who is musically talented or an artist and things like that. One of the things that I've learned from you really is to become creative in ways to make money, to become creative in my own expression of my gifts and how to share that. So how would you describe the archetype of the creatrix, the term creatrix, and how someone can start to maybe take on some of that energy?
Oh, thank you for asking me. I'm so happy the word creatrix resonates with you the way it does for me. All of my programs, Creatrix Calling, Creatrix Academy, Creatrix Publishing, my license plate is Creatrix. I love embodying Creatrix on my crystals. I love embodying the word Creatrix, because to me, it's being in remembrance of who you actually are. And you are a spiritual being having a human experience, and you came here for a particular reason. You came here to the planet because you were needed at this time in history. Outside of ego, outside of identity, you are so needed as a pillar of light for other people. We are desperate for light leadership right now. The creatrix is a woman who sees possibility even when doors shut. And the thing about scarcity that's interesting, this kind of relationship with scarcity, is when you're in scarcity and anxiety, it's really challenging to be creative. So as scarcity goes up, creativity goes down. All you can see is blocks. But the creatrix, even if she's met with a challenge, a surprising tax bill, a credit card bill that she didn't quite realize she had spent that much, whatever the financial situation is, she sees opportunity in all of it. So the creatrix is someone who knows that by being a woman, you are the creator of human life. You have the codes of creative essence within you, because your body knows how to create life. And a woman embodying the creatrix knows that she's here for something. Every single woman has her own essence of creativity. And when you start owning the archetype and embodying the creatrix, you will see opportunities that you didn't even know existed. You will see a way to serve. You will see how you can show up for others. It becomes less about you and your identity and, oh, am I doing it good enough? Or do people like me? Or am I qualified for this? It's like, I see somebody in need and I will step up and creatively serve them. And, oh, what if I could create this offering and put this with this and invite this person to support? And you start to see the way the puzzle pieces can come together, because we are here in this dimension of human earth to create whatever we want as a function of our free will. Anything is possible in this playground as a function of your intention and your say so. So the creatrix knows how powerful her thoughts are, how powerful her intention is, and that she truly can create anything she could possibly dream of in this reality.
Yes, yes. And I just really love the oh, I love all of it. I love this whole entity of the creatrix, but what I really love is about being in service. And that's something that you do so generously. And I'd love for you to talk about the tie between prosperity and the energy of money when you're in service instead of trying to always get something or make a sale or whatever that thing is how does being in service play into this relationship
Mhm.
with money?
Mhm. Well, I help women, and so I specifically help women with launching and making money in their businesses and setting up their high-end launches. And I see how much pain women put themselves in, and I'm so guilty of this. I've put myself through tremendous emotional pain when it comes to launching because I made it hard on myself and tried to force something. And so I've seen what fear can do and how it like closes in the walls around you. And so this is where energetics are so important in remembering why you did the thing in the first place. So if you set out to create a thing and you set a goal and it was like, okay, I want to make my first $10,000. This is what I want, who I want to be involved. This is the thing that I'm creating. And then all of a sudden becomes less about the experience you were providing and more about this ego, gotta get this goal, gotta prove myself, gotta post my numbers on social media so that all of my friends will know that I've made it and I'm not like some cop out in life. And it becomes this like forceful, overly masculine, like this is the shadow of the masculine, is being driven to a point of hurting you. And I see the energetics of this where it's just like force, 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 gotta get to the results. But if you were service driven, you would just be focused on doing the thing that initially inspired you, which is to serve the people that are around you. So what I end up seeing is like women creating all these fancy marketing plans, like these really intricate funnels, banging their head against the wall with all of these goals and these things that they're trying to create. And it gets way too complicated and way too big. And I bring it back down to the basics. Are you serving people every single day? How many calls are on your calendar? How are you inviting people to things that will transform and change their lives? Like, let's bring it back down to the very simple essence of why you started this in the first place. This is the same thing in relationships. People start fighting, fighting, fighting in their relationships, and they forgot the reason why they ever loved that person in the first place. And so, my invitation to everyone listening is, why are you doing what you're doing? When you are in service, when you are giving people an experience, they will be loyal to you. We want leaders. We want to invest our money in something that we believe in. We want to grow. We want to hire you if you are the person that's going to lead me to the result that I want so badly in my life. And I want you to show up for me. And so when you are showing up for people generously, money is a currency of gratitude. If you have a stream of people, a trail of people around you, grateful for your presence and so inspired and uplifted by your being, you will make it financially, because that is the translation. People love you, support you, will invest in you because you've showed up for them. So service first, generosity first. Instead of going out there in the market and saying, what can I take? It's what can I give? That alone will shift your business so much. I see women coming to me just like in the throes of launching, like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. It's like, back up. What are you really doing and what do you really want to have happen? And if you focus on what truly matters, the results will come.
Jolie, you have been in full service to this audience today. Everyone who listens to this will have so many gems, new perspectives on prosperity because you chose to show up and serve today. So thank you for being generous with your wisdom and
Mhm.
generous with your time and generous with your love. And your passion really is the light for so many women. So thank you for the work that you do and for sharing with us today.
Of course. Of course. I'm
Yeah.
happy. I'm happy to be here.
So I'd love to know where, or I'd love to share with everyone where they can find you and where they can
Mhm.
continue following along.
Yeah. So where I hang out most these days is Instagram. I do stories all the time, so you can follow me in my life. And that's at JolieDonXO on Instagram. And then I want to hook you guys up with something that is one of my most favorite creative projects I've ever done, which is a 10-day meditation series called Dare to Prosper. And I use some powerful tools. I have training in Kundalini yoga and hypnosis and transmutation meditation. And I really know how to get deep into the psyche to have lasting change and transformation with your relationship to prosperity. So it's 10 days of using imagery, using the power of the mind to start to tend to your garden of prosperity. So I introduce you to the imagery of your current garden with money, and you get to tell the truth about where you're at with money. And through 10 days, I guide you to tending to your energetic garden and having a real lasting healing with your money. So if you want this 10 days, go ahead and email my business manager, Portia at joliedon.com. I think Amy will put that in the show notes. And she'll get you the meditation series, and then you'll be linked up to kind of some newsletters and mailings that I do. And so you can learn about my Creatrix programs in 2020 if you're looking to launch or monetize or just step into your power, step into your revenue potential. Me and my team would be happy to serve you in 2020. And
Beautiful.
beyond.
Yes, and beyond. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
Really, just seeing everything that how you've been expanding and continue to expand and continue to evolve. I just can't even imagine, like, at the end of this decade where you're going to be and where prosperity consciousness is going to be. So this really does feel like the beginning. And I'm so grateful to have had you on today. And I want to know how we can serve you. So how can I best serve you today?
Oh, sweetness. Thank you. Honestly, just you being out in the world and doing what you're doing. We had some moments to catch up, and you sharing me everything that you've got going on is the greatest gift that you give me. That at some point I touched your life and you're doing it for others. And that alone, you going out there and owning your success and owning your prosperity consciousness is like the legacy gets to live on through you. So you're doing the damn thing, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you guys next week on another Feminine Rising podcast.